Hey, welcome back to How to Barbecue Right. I'm Malcolm Reed. Today I'm going to show you how I sear some steaks in some cast iron out on the grill. You could do this recipe inside, but I don't want to smoke up the kitchen. So I'm firing up my big green egg. We're going to get some cast iron blazing hot, and we're going to put a good crust on some steaks. Let's get to cooking. So today I have a couple Wagyu chuck steaks that I got from my buddy Kevin down at the butcher shop in Pensacola, Florida. Now I chose these because they're so marbled and they're inexpensive for Wagyu beef. You can get 2 of these chuck steaks from Kevin for 15 bucks. That's cheaper than ribeye in most grocery stores. Now you can cook any kind of steak this exact same way, seared in a cast iron pan, but if you're wanting to try some Wagyu beef, this chuck steak's a great cut to start with. So for this recipe, I'm really wanting the crust on the outside to be the star of the show and the good beef. So I'm not going crazy with my seasonings. I've got some kosher salt and I've got some ground black pepper. That's all that's going on them. So I'm just gonna give each side of these steaks a good dose of this kosher salt. I want it all over the steak, and I like the kosher salt because it spreads really well, gives you some good coverage, and it's gonna give us some crunch. I'm also gonna go ahead and put some black pepper on. And people say to only use salt on steak, but I'm not scared of that black pepper burning. It's gonna be just fine. It's gonna make a nice crust on the top. And once I get it pressed in, I'm gonna flip these steaks over. We're gonna do the same thing to the back side of them. Some more kosher salt, good dose, and some black pepper right over the top. Press that right in so we get a good coverage on it. Seasoning sticks to the meat. And for the edges, I'm just gonna kind of pat it around in that salt and in that pepper that's an excess on the pan or on the board. So that's it for the seasoning. Now I just want these steaks to sit here for about 30 minutes while I fire up the green egg. So in the egg, I'm starting with some Royal Oak lump charcoal, and I just scoot some of the coals around to make a depression so I can put some tumbleweed fire starters in there. Get those going and then pile a few of the bigger pieces of lump up over the tumbleweeds. Kind of creates a pyramid, and that's gonna make a good base of hot coals for us. So when the coals are good and lit, I'm gonna put my cooking grate in place, and we're gonna close the lid on the egg. We're gonna adjust the bottom to about 1.5 inches open, and then on top, I'm just gonna open the daisy wheel all the way 100% open. That's gonna let the egg come up to about 550 degrees. It's gonna be perfect for this cast iron. So the egg's up to 550 degrees. That's right where I want it. Now we're ready for our cast iron pan. I've just got a well-seasoned cast iron skillet. I'm going right center grate over those hot coals. And I'm gonna add just a little grapeseed oil to the pan. We're gonna shut the lid, let that pan get good and hot. And I'm using grapeseed oil because it has a high smoke point. It can take this heat from the egg. You don't have to worry about it burning. If you use vegetable oil, canola oil, even olive oil, it's gonna burn up. So that grapeseed oil is a good choice for cooking steaks. So I let the grill climb back up just for a few minutes. Enough time to get that cast iron good and hot, get that oil smoking just a little bit. So now we're ready to start searing the steak. Now this process is gonna go fast. We're only gonna go 3 minutes on each side. So we're taking the steak, we're gonna go right down in the cast iron, give it a good press so we get good contact. Right away, it's starting to sizzle, it's starting to cook, and my timer's going for 3 minutes. And at this point, we're just leaving the lid open on the egg. The cast iron's good and hot. We've got it seared, we've got it sizzling. That's all the heat we need. So it's okay to leave that lid open during the cook. So it's been 3 minutes. It's time to flip this chuck steak. And look at that sear that we got on it. All that crust that's formed, that is beautiful. That's why I want to cook in cast iron. Now what I'm gonna do is add a little butter to the pan. A little bit of thyme, some cloves of garlic. We're gonna start our timer back for 3 minutes. You wanna make sure it's getting good contact on this side as well. As that butter starts to melt, I'm just gonna grab it, spoon it over the steak. It's hot work, so you can use a glove, kind of get it away from it. Just give it a good bath. Ooh, that's hot. That's a knuckle burner right there, Jack. So after 6 minutes, this steak is right where I want it. I want to keep it on that rare side. And look at that sizzle. That is beautiful. We'll take it over here to the cutting board, get it out of this pan. We got to cook one more. Ooh, pour all that good butter and garlic over that steak. All right, so we're ready for number 2. A little more grapeseed oil in the pan. I did just wipe it out real quick with a little paper towel before I put that grapeseed oil in. Give it just a second, start smoking a little bit. Lets me know that cast iron's hot. Our chuck steak's ready to go down. Get that timer going for 3 minutes. All right, we're ready for the flip. It's been 3 minutes. Look at that beautiful crust it's made on the outside. Same thing. Press it down till we get some good surface contact. You didn't think I was gonna forget that butter. Garlic and thyme, we're putting it all in there. You can't beat that fried garlic in the butter As it starts to melt, that's when you want to catch it. Just give it a baste right over the top. Get it right back on the heat. Every 20 seconds or so, it's going to keep splashing that butter and garlic right over the top of that steak. About a minute left, it's going to be time to eat. And that's it, 6 total minutes. We're ready to get this one off too. After about a 5-minute rest, all I could take. Time to try these chuck steaks. Got a knife and fork. A couple of garlics already disappeared because me and the camera lady been trying that, and it is delicious. I wanted to cut into these dudes and just show you how beautiful that meat is on the inside. I mean, that's the perfect cooked on it in a cast iron. It's got the crust on the outside, the beautiful cook across the steak. I'm just gonna cut it up. There's no right or wrong way to cut up a chuck steak. It's just like eating the best part of the ribeye. That's spinalis in. That's kind of where these chuck steaks come from. Right before we get to the ribeye, they cut this off the chuck roll. So I'm going with a piece of garlic, piece of steak, drag it back through some of that good buttery juice that's dripped off on the board. That's heaven. Wow. Chuck steak, man. Wagyu beef. That's the bomb. This is so, I can't even explain how good this is. It ought to be against the law. Holy smokes. Look at that cook. So juicy. All that marbling keeps this meat moist and juicy. I call that a perfect medium rare every single time. That was 6 minutes in that cast iron. And Shell, you're going to have to put the camera down and try this. I'm going back in. I'm glad I cooked two, because you have one and I have one. They had to take a moment there. That's one of the best steaks I've tried. I'm really impressed. I've cooked these chuck steaks before, but I've never done them on the cast iron like that on my egg. You got to give this a try. Puts a nice crust on them. Kosher salt, black pepper, butter, garlic, thyme. That's all you need. You can do it on any grill. You can do it inside. It is going to smoke your house up. Get ready for the smoke alarm to go off. But fire up that grill, get outside, cook you a chuck steak. I promise you, you'll love it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I'm sorry to rush y'all off, but I got to destroy this Wagyu steak. If you like what we're doing, subscribe to the channel. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Shell and I are going to talk about this chuck steak, all the other delicious stuff we do in our weekly podcast. Y'all can give that a listen too. We'll see you next time. It's one of the best steaks I ever ate. Man, dang. I mean, I was expecting it to be good, but I wasn't expecting it to be best steakhouse in New Orleans good. I'm gonna order a whole deep freeze full of these things.